I'm calling to order the Columbus City Council meeting. The date is December 10th, and the time is 6 o'clock. The first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have to make the adoption of the agenda. Anybody want to make a motion?
This is Scott. I move to approve the agenda for the December 10th, 2025 City Council meeting.
Rob, I'll second.
We got a motion. It's been seconded. Is there any other discussion? Any questions? Hearing none. We'll vote on it. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes. We'll go to item B, which is the consent agenda. Somebody want to make a motion on that?
It's Jenny. I can make a motion. I, Jenny, move to approve the consent agenda for December 10th, 2025 City Council meeting.
Do we have a second?
This is Karen. I'll second that motion.
Do we have any discussion on it? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes. We'll go on to item number C, presentations and items for the council's action. First item is public forum. Is there anybody out in the public wants to come up and make a statement? Seeing none? Is there anybody online on Zoom that wants to participate in the open forum? No one's coming forward, so we'll close that item. We'll go to item number 2, the LATV 2026 Budget and Accounting Services. Is Paul going to come out?
I am.
There he is.
Sorry,
Good evening, Paul.
I'm double duty tonight, sorry. Hello, Mayor. Hello, everybody. I can do a recap of kind of what we do and what the year looks like, but it was kind of all in the cover letter I sent. If there's any questions you'd like to ask. Otherwise, we can just go right to the budget if you want. I'll leave it up to you guys. I feel like I come and say the same thing every year, so.
I'm good with going to the budget, if everyone else is.
Are you what?
Good with going to the budget.
Yeah, let's go. I don't see anybody.
Sure. And so let me see, let me pull up, I didn't put that in the presentation. You have the cover letter I sent you?
Cover letter?
Yeah.
Yes.
So just kind of the summary of everything we're doing here. We're continuing to expand our streaming. That's our biggest viewership for stuff. We've upgraded our productions on all that quite a bit. Our video on demand, that being said, the video on demand may or may not go away next year just because the cost of it is about $8,000 just for that one thing. And we're also on YouTube. So they'll still be able to access everything online. But as you see in the budget, we are in the red every year. We have to make that up with production services. And that just every year as subscribers go down will become more and more. So we're looking to just kind of eliminate whatever expenses we can. So that one, I'm looking at ways that your council meetings will still be very easy to find. We still have chapter menus and the YouTube links, but the actual page with the agenda and all that, I may be able to find sponsorships to cover that some way. Scott was telling me that is a favorite of people. He hears people say that they like that part of how easy it is to find meetings. So I would love to keep it. I've spent a lot of time making that work. It's a big expense for what we have. So that's about the only thing that might change. We stream a lot of things, and that's just going to continue to grow. Working the same with students and teachers. This week, I actually had a teacher reach out to me to come help students with recording their audio for a performance they're going to do in the auditorium. And I work with them a lot. A lot of the faculty knows how to reach out to me. They do all the time. I get a lot of emails from students, and we'd like, help with this. Last year, I built a 3D animation independent study program online for a student. This year, I built video editing with free software online as an independent study. So when they reach out, I send them the links. It's all video based. with all of the files they need in a Google Drive that I build. And then if they get stuck, I go meet with them. They never get stuck just because the way I lay it out is very, very simple. So I continue to work with students. I constantly go work in the auditorium, so I put in a system a few years ago where it's completely student-run, where they stream their own programs in the auditorium to our channel. I create the links, they hit go, they show up on our YouTube channel, they hit stop, it stops. We grab them off YouTube, we put them on the air, but that's completely student-run, and that is the tech team that the faculty there helps organize the kids that come film those things, and they make sure they all work, and just did 3 concerts last week. Gets kind of busy in the winter season. One change next year, which I probably will work a little harder towards sponsorships, and that will just be our live streaming sports gets between 50 and 70,000 viewers. And so I can make very, very good commercials, for lack of a better word. We'll call them promo videos for local businesses, and they can sponsor games and stuff. So that I might hit a little bit harder because that can have a lot of value for us, and it can also have a lot of value for businesses. So, and they will love what I make for them. I made commercials, I've done it for 30 years. So I'm very good at doing those kind of things. Highlights, as it says here, revenues slowly declining. I did make up for it this year. I had to make up $9,000 in production services this year, and I will hit that. So we should come out pretty even in our budget. And next year it's be a little higher. I apologize that I'm coming to you so late. We had to wait. Our second biggest expense of our entire business is my health insurance, and I could not figure, we didn't know what that was going to be until November. And so then once we figured that out, then I met with my broker, which that was 2.5 week wait just for him to be able to talk to me, because I'm assuming he got pretty slammed the 1st of November as well. So that's why I'm here so late in the year for the budget. My health insurance is actually going to hang right about, assuming that there's subsidies still there, it's going to hang in the same place. We won't really know till January 1st on that, what that's going to do. But there's enough money in a CD there that we have $125,000 saved. So if something did happen, it was drastic, we have enough to go for a few years while we figure this out. But that's just the biggest expense was the health insurance. And then, yep, production services, our expenses, I streamline our budget to basically shoestring nothing years ago, and it's the same. Our office supplies are $75 a year and things like that. So there's nothing else there to spend. It's salaries, health insurance, and our rent for the city. If the rent had to go away and we stopped renting from the city, technically I have a studio that is in the high school I could work out of exclusively if we had to get rid of that. But I think the city likes having us in there. I like being in there, so we'll see. That's just, when it just goes farther and farther down, we'll see what happens. So that's kind of what the budget is, and I feel like that's exactly what I said last year again, but.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I just, people know to reach out to me. They know where to find me. I strive very hard to make great relationships throughout the entire community that people know to reach out, and they do all the time when they want something made. I'm getting better at saying no because there's one me. And a few years ago, I tried to please everybody, and there was a lot of things got shot and sat in the can just because there wasn't enough time. So I'm getting better. Also at just telling people that's a cool event, but nobody's going to watch that. If you want to tell a story about it, we can do it this way, and we can get thousands of people to watch it. I can just go cover it the way you're saying, and 6 people will watch it. So I'm getting better at knowing. YouTube and the analytics help us track a lot at who watches what and why. And that's why we're down to hockey and football. I think I said that last year. I did basketball, 10 people would watch it. Our hockey games, 1,500 people watch them. Our football games, we had 9,000 people watch a game last year. So
I was one of them.
yeah, well,
I gotta ask.
I know you're going to ask me about the final game of the season this year.
Well, not the final. No, but how come you don't charge people for watching?
We tried it through NSPN last year, and the game before we ran through them, we had, I want to say, 4,500 people watch, and the game we ran it through them and people had to pay, we had 80 people watch. And to me, that wasn't worth the drop. So I would rather, I'm looking at sponsors that I'm going to put commercials, promo videos, I can't do commercials, in the football games that will help cover our expenses, but.
When it gets to the playoffs, Oh, you charge.
So when it gets to the playoff, I'm not allowed to film them.
I know, I see that.
Yeah, so I'm not allowed.
You're not?
Nope, those are owned by NSPN. They used to be owned by Channel 45, and now NSPN buys the entire league. And the only way for me to air them, I can go do all the work and run it through their channel, and that's when I had 80 people watch. And I went, that's just dumb, so.
Well, I could watch part of the game because
Yeah, and this year, so I'm not going to throw any of my guys under the bus, but I'm going to throw them under the bus a tiny little bit. One, we have a hotspot that if you're not plugged in, you run through my hotspot and it overheats. And so I say, charge it fully. If you plug it in, it's going to overheat. And my guys didn't charge it fully and it overheated with 2 minutes, or no, we're in overtime this year.
Yeah.
And they were streaming and our stream went out. And once it overheats, you don't get it back. It's got to cool down for like a half hour. So I got many, many calls on that. So.
well, several years ago, you had one at Stillwater where the game went out and you could, if you really played your cards right, you could get on Stillwater's.
Yep. Well, that's what I did this year with NSPN. So I watched the games on them and I listened to my guys announce the audio. So, yeah, and that's a postseason thing. And so I'm working on like this year is the first year I have a mom of a player doing our away hockey games. And I built kind of the same system I give my football guys, and her and another guy have done so far this year, they've done all the away hockey games. They had 500 people watch their game in the snowstorm yesterday. So that's kind of cool. They do a one camera, I give them each headsets, they go straight into the system, they stream with that hotspot, and kind of cool.
Well, I hate to see that go, you know.
Yep. So I try to find, I'm constantly trying to find different ways to get the most viewers, and I listen to people on what they would want to see and don't want to see, and I will try anything, and we'll see if anybody watches it. And so you just kind of weigh that, is this worth the amount of work for the amount of viewers we're getting for this thing?
Can you pick up how many people are watching like our meeting tonight?
Yeah. Well, I can because, well, no, I take that back. I could if you streamed it through YouTube. You're streaming on our channel, there is no way to track that, and there never has been with cable access. I am technically streaming your meeting right now through an unlisted YouTube link. So there's 0 people watching that. If I make it private, you can track in real time who watches, when they're watching, how long they watch. And that is just a decision you guys have to make. I can make those private links. I do an unlisted link as a backup in case the recording doesn't work. And that's happened in the past. So then we can just go get that unlisted YouTube video.
You don't deal with Scandia anymore? Or
We film their meetings. I send people out to film them. They run them through their own service out there.
in Wyoming?
Wyoming, as far as I know, I don't know a ton about this. They had a beef with somebody at my station before me, and they won't even talk to me. I tried to set up 10 meetings with their mayor, and she's very nice to my face, but I do not get calls back. So I can take a hint after the 5th time. Because I came and I'm like, I'm going to fix this. I can do this. And no, they didn't want to do it. So they're happy with what they do.
Any other questions or comments?
The only other thing we might have had, if you go to the last slide on this, was you guys are possibly taking over our bookkeeping. So Scandia has been doing our bookkeeping for years, and they have a new bookkeeper there that does not like doing it. And I was a contractor for many years, and when you don't really want a job, you severely overbid it. And that's what they did. They just came in and said, we're not going to do anything different, but we're going to double our fee to you. And we went, well, what the heck? And so we took that as, and she's very happy that you guys are hopefully going to do this. So we had a meeting with Jack and Cheryl, and she seems pretty okay with doing it. I didn't even see you sitting there, sorry. So I don't know if you want to talk more about it, but so I don't know much about it. I make videos, but it didn't seem that hard to me. But Scandia is the old woman did not struggle with it. The new woman is struggling with it. So.
This, Jenny, can I ask really quickly what Scandia, do you know what specifically she didn't like about it? Or is it just?
She said it was taking her far too long. Yeah.
You know about how many hours? Sorry.
I don't really.
Okay,
Yeah.
just curious.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I think Cheryl has kind of seen what it is. So she gets the gist of what it is. And I like that her first thing was, how many things can we automate? Can we do direct deposits? Get rid of all these checks, and I am all for any of this, so.
So that's my other question. Is there anything you're not getting now that you do want to see? And one of those sounds like potentially automation and some things like that. Is there anything else you would maybe want the city to help with that you're not getting?
I am the only full-time employee. To me, we're pretty small, and so I don't know how tough it can be. I'm not an accountant, and I'm sure there's things, and I'm sure because it's a government thing, there's other, hoops you got to jump through. But yeah, to me, the checks, I would love a direct deposit. That would be super cool. Right now I get my check and take a picture of it. It's almost the same thing, but. So anything you see, I don't know. I CC'd you on an email today that Veronica had, but
Yes, I saw that.
yeah.
And I knew that your audit isn't due until 2026, so it's okay. I just chose not to respond.
Sure. I saw you weren't included, and I thought just going forward, you should be included on everything, so.
Yep. It doesn't sound like it's anything too complicated. I do think you're using CTOS right now. That's your current software.
Yep.
I would continue to use that for at least 1 year, and then we would look at migrating over to something different, or I would have an opportunity to speak with Hugh, our programmer at Banyan, to see how we could just incorporate the Cable Commission into our software, if there was a way to break that out. The direct deposit, that's an easy peasy. That's not going to take us very long, and that will eliminate a lot of the delay. A lot of it is going to be switching over ownership. So I will have to request and gain access to their IRS accounts, the Minnesota Department of Revenue accounts, their para account, their banking, their unemployment, their workers' comp, earned safe and sick time, Minnesota paid leave. So I'm hoping that Veronica reaches out to me because she needs to schedule a meeting with me as soon as possible.
Okay.
Because those will take time, just to get all of that switched over to us here. And we don't want to lag in that because we have to pay all of those things on time.
Yep.
So a lot of it is just going to be changing it to us. We're going to go through an entire year, and then we're going to see the direct deposit is going to happen immediately, but then we'll see what we can do with software to try to make things a little bit easier and more efficient, so it doesn't take up a lot of time.
I'm going to revise my previous statement. If there was anything I would like, yes, we aren't required by the state to do an audit every 2 years, but it was requested by the last mayor of Forest Lake that we do an audit every 2 years. The way the state is for cable access TV stations is they suggest every 5 years. And I bring that up because our audit this last year was $12,000, which is a pretty big chunk out of our budget. And Cheryl said she might even have options that may be cheaper. She wasn't sure, but she had some suggestions we could try. So that I would love if we could find, even if there's a policies and procedures we can do in the meantime and do one full audit every 5 years or something, great. Just something to reduce that because that's a pretty big hit to us, so.
This is Karen. I was going to say, just looking at your balance sheet, yeah, 12,000 is way too much money.
Yep. And I actually last year reached out to 3 or 4 different companies and they all said the same thing. And it was 8. And I asked our auditor why, and he just said cost of living. I got to pay my guys more, so I'm charging you more. And he was very unapologetic about it, so.
Well, I might have a connection there for you.
Okay.
I know it's probably different. I also run Chisago Lakes TV, and the audit is wrapped right into their books. They include ours right when they do their audits. Our money goes right out into theirs. However, they have 0 employees. I am listed as a private subcontractor through them, so that's probably why they can do that. So.
Any other comments?
So this year, I was pretty ambitious with my production services, so I have to do quite a bit more this year or sponsorships next year than I did this year to make up for the losses, but I have faith I can do it.
Yeah, so this is Scott. Just the only comment I have is, I believe as a council, we did briefly discuss this at a workshop meeting before, and we felt that this was a way to help the cable TV save some money on their budget and that it was a worthwhile endeavor. So I think there was a consensus on that before. And is there anything we need to do today to make this happen?
We would need to make a motion to do their budgeting for them or their bookkeeping for the next year. One of the things that I've thought about, currently they're being charged $300 a month. I believe that's the charge that Scandi is doing now. That's not counting their increase. And we could probably agree to do that for a year, then we can see exactly then what our costs were. So we can see if that needed to be adjusted next year. We would need to make a motion to actually enter into an agreement with them to do their bookkeeping services.
And so what was did we have a negotiation on the amount we would charge per month and an agreement informal?
You know, I think in the spirit of cooperation and the way this thing's going, I would make the recommendation that we do it for what their current charge is. And then we can see what the cost of this are going forward. We really don't know till we get into it. I don't want to propose something that's going to be way too high since their budget is very tight. So if we do this, I would make a motion that we continue doing it with their current charge, what Scandi is charging them, which is $300 a month. And that's exclusive of any audits. We can always look and see, as Paul said, Cheryl and I have kind of talked about if there's a way we could roll it into hours. But that would be something we don't have to worry about till next year. But if we can do it on that basis, then we can examine what our charges are, and then they can decide if they went up, if they still want to try to use us next year.
So basically the cost of Cheryl's time.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Is that right, Paul? About three?
I believe so, yes. I don't know that I was in the discussion of what you were going to charge, but I'm good with that. I can say that I looked at outside accounting firms, and the Cable Commission really wanted me to see if you guys would do it instead of going outside, so. And I was ecstatic when I heard you were open to it. When I got your email, I did a little dance, so. I did not videotape that.
And Cheryl and I have discussed the fee a little bit. You know, our initial thoughts were it would probably cost more than that, but I think we should consider one with your current charge, give us the time to analyze what our costs are, and then we can readjust that at a later date if they wish to continue to service.
And I guess that's my question. I want to say it was $365 that Scandi was charging, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
It was $3,600 a year, and we were paying them quarterly. And maybe I'm out of step here. You know, we budget a certain amount of money, but if we get 3 months into this and it's way more time, I don't have a problem with paying you for your time. I mean, we're going to learn as we go, but you're not locked in for a year and going, okay, this was a huge mistake. If you find out it's taking you more time, I have no problem covering that. You know, it's just, we're just looking for options here, so.
I think it'll be more hours initially.
Sure.
But I think that I can increase efficiencies enough where we'll be okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have faith.
Cheryl, just a question for Paul. How is this company, is it LLC, or what kind of company is it?
No, it's, are you considered like a special district, Paul?
It's a local government entity, but we are also a nonprofit, but we are not a 901c3 nonprofit. We are just a government nonprofit. So we are kind of two different things, yeah.
Is that how you got into para then?
I don't know, that was pre-me, so that was.
There had to be some public to get in.
I think they're considered a special district.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, since you're on the commission, you want to make the motion?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mayor. Thank you. This is Scott. I would make a motion to approve an agreement with the Forest Lake Area Cable Commission to provide one-year service of bookkeeping in the amount of $3,600 for the first year.
It's Rob, I'll second.
Got a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye?
Scott, aye?
Karen, aye?
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes unanimously.
You guys rock. So last year I'd pitched a podcast. Any thoughts on that?
I remember that.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll talk to you later.
cool. Okay. All right, back to work. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Paul. We'll go on to item number 3, the 2026 budget presentation and final levies. Request for approval.
Minnesota Statute 275.065 requires cities to conduct a public comment period where citizens are offered the opportunity to provide input to the city council on proposed budgets and tax levies. The state requires that each city announce the date, time, and place of the meeting where residents can provide city council feedback on the annual budget and tax levies. The Columbus City Council approved the 2026 preliminary levy and budget on September 25th, 2025, and set the date for a public comment period for the 2026 final budget and levy for tonight's meeting. The certified levy amount of $4,373,747 was submitted to Anoka County on September 25th, 2025 for preparation of the 2026 preliminary property tax statements, which were sent to Columbus residents in November of 2025. The specific meeting date of December 10th is also listed on the parcel-specific notices for proposed 2026 taxes that taxpayers received in November from Anoka County. The preliminary budget general fund summary is as follows. The 2026 City of Columbus preliminary budget for the general fund levy was set at $4,373,747. This amount was $142,242 over the 2025 levy of $4,231,505 and resulted in a projected 3.4 levy increase. This amount was reduced by $55,555 to $4,318,192 for the final 2026 budgets due to adjustments in bond payment charges and law enforcement contract costs. These charges will result in a final levy increase for the City of Columbus of 2% for 2026. Law enforcement and fire services contract increases in the amount of $61,000 were the primary drivers for the additional expenditures for the proposed 2026 budget. The adjusted 2026 Columbus preliminary levy of 2% is the second lowest of the 21 municipalities in Anoka County. The city also reduced the city HRA budget from $120,000 to $5,000. This is listed as a special levy on the 2026 Anoka County tax statement, but is not part of the general levy. The impact of this reduction could be on average of up to $70 per household decrease from 2025 on individual tax bills for this item. The preliminary Anoka County levy increase is proposed to be 9.4%. We originally had this listed at 9.9. We found out yesterday that their final is 9.4. The range of increases for the other 19 municipalities in the county, excluding the city of Bethel, is between 2.09% and 16.2% for these cities. Staff recommends that council invite and receive public comment for the 2026 budget and tax levy, and then consider the adoption of the general fund budget and final tax levy and HRA levy with the resolutions as presented in the recommendations to this report. Attachments 1, 2, and 3 in your packet are resolutions for approval of the 2026 budget, general fund levy, and city HRA levy. Attachment 4 is the line item provided the approved preliminary and proposed final 2026 city budget for Columbus. Upon approval, the 2026 budget and levy will be sent to Anoka County, and final property tax statements will be mailed to residents in March 2026. You also have on your agenda, there's 4 proposed motions that need to be adopted tonight. And the first one is to actually open this up for public comment for anyone that wishes to speak or address any budget concerns that are presented in the packet and are up for approval.
Couldn't hear part of the ending there, Jack. Are you saying we got to open it up to the public?
That's correct. If you'll see, the first motion is to make a motion to open the public comment for the period for the 2026 budget. At that time, people will be allowed to come up and express any concerns they have for what the proposals are.
Anybody want to make the motion, or
This is Karen, I'll make the motion. I make the motion that we open to the public for comment period for the 2026 budget.
It's Rob, second.
we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is any other comments? Take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. It passes unanimously. So then, right now, we open it up to the public.
Correct.
Is there anybody out there in the audience, which I don't see anybody out there, so I gather there's nobody here. Is there anybody online on Zoom that would like to make a comment or a statement? Hearing nothing, we'll close that. Is that a public hearing, or is that a?
That's not a public hearing, it's a comment hearing, so.
So we'll close that. We'll go on to motion number 2.
Motion number 2 is Resolution 25-20, a resolution to approve the final 2026 budget as the resolution reads in your package.
Okay, I'll make that motion. I, Ron Hanegraaff, make the motion to move to approve Resolution 25-20, a resolution to approve the final 2026 budget.
This is Jenny, I second.
We got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any other discussion, comment? Hearing none. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Motion number 2 passes unanimously.
Motion number 3 is a resolution 25-21, a resolution approving the 2026 preliminary tax levy for property taxes collectible in 2026.
Okay, I, Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve Resolution 25-21, a resolution approving the 2026 preliminary tax levy for property taxes collectible in 2026.
Rob, will second.
We have a motion that's been seconded. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes unanimously.
And the final requested motion is Resolution 25-22, a resolution approving the final 2026 Housing and Redevelopment Authority property tax levy and budget.
Good. I'll read this one. I, Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve Resolution 25-22, a resolution approving the final 2026 Housing and Redevelopment Authority property tax and budget.
Scott, I'll second.
We have a motion that's been seconded. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none. Jenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes unanimously. Well, thanks a lot, Jack, for getting her down to 2.
You know, that was a lot of work by everybody. We appreciate everybody's contribution and discussion on this. And, you know, it's something we've had flat budgets for 2 or 3 years in a row, but we've reached the point now where there had to be some adjustments so that we don't get faced with a huge increase in a year or 2 down the road. So everybody had a great part in this, and thanks everybody, and thanks to Cheryl for all her hard work on this.
It was a lot of work there, Cheryl. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks.
Let's go on to item number 4, Ordinance Amendment 25-04, fence regulations.
The Planning Commission has been working on a city ordinance amendment to better regulate fencing in the city. Ordinance 25-04 consolidates all fencing provisions into a single section of the zoning code and establishes clear, consistent standards for materials, height, and location, improving clarity for both residents and staff. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on the proposed ordinance on November 5th, 2025. There were no public comments regarding the proposal. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Ordinance 25-04 to the City Council based on their meeting of December 3rd, 2025.
Jack, the only adjustment was that one on section 7A 806 there, D. Is that the only addition that was made on this adjustment to this ordinance?
The item D is the adjustment, that's correct.
So it's up to the staff then to make a determination if a survey has to be done.
That's correct.
It doesn't have to come to the council.
No, it does not. Now, if the staff does one and somebody disagrees with it, it can be appealed. But it's an administrative decision initially. But if there's disagreement by the applicant on it, they can appeal it to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Any other discussion? Anybody have any questions?
So that's, thanks, Ron. That's in regards to property lines, is what you're alluding to?
Correct.
Okay. So say there's a marked property line, there's disagreement between two owners. Maybe there's a new owner that thinks they own more because GIS isn't exact and portrays a different thing than what it really is. Can the neighbor come and speak? Is there going to be a public open forum or something of that nature?
Well, in that case, staff would say a survey is required to establish the exact location of that line, so there'll be no question about it.
So if said neighbor questions the applicant, there's automatically going to have to be a survey.
That's correct.
Gotcha. But if they apply and neighbor doesn't say anything, they're good to go,
Correct.
per se. Okay. Yeah, the surveys are spendy, so.
Yes.
I got a question on this, and they probably go to Megan. So we pass this ordinance, and the two neighbors say, yeah, I think that's the line. And they put it down, and it's not the line. 5 years, like, someone sells a house, comes back, is the city liable for anything on that?
No, so I think that there's also a distinction here. So a fencing contractor or the ultimate property owner is going to take responsibility in the permitting process of saying that this is where the fence line is intended to be, it's compliant with the code. And what we're saying is that your staff, if there is no objection, if it appears to be reasonable based upon GIS and, sort of the overall placement of the fence, that there's no reason to add an additional $5,000 to $7,000 in surveying costs to install those fences. In the event that there is some discrepancy, especially that the planner sees from a GIS perspective or where there is a conflict, then we'll request a survey. And so there's a level of protection, but under neither circumstance does the city essentially have liability here for making that determination.
Thank you.
But this is Scott, a new homeowner that has a new neighbor, or a homeowner, owner of the fence that gets a new neighbor is contesting that, then they have to provide a survey? Or if it's
That's a good
contested
question.
by, a new homeowner who is not the owner of the fence?
So that's a private matter between the two parties. If there is an issue in terms of where the fence was installed, after the fence is installed, and, it was reasonable underneath the circumstances, again, if that's not a city problem, that's a private property owner problem.
Okay.
And it happens more frequently than you might imagine.
Yeah. I bet it does.
Yeah. A buddy of mine just dealt with it in Big Lake where someone had built a shed on his property and ultimately he went out there and tore it down, and then she called the cops that, he tore her shed down, but it was like clearly on his property, but old maps showed different things and it can get hairy. So,
Just a question regarding the permit process. Is a plat drawing, with the permit process? I mean, do you have a plat drawing with it?
That would be looked at if the property were included in a plat. A lot of properties are just meets and bounds descriptions.
Yeah, because anybody that has a mortgage has a plat drawing.
Yeah, and we have that on record, so we would consult that. That's on on the GIS information from the city. If it's a platted property within a platted subdivision, we have access to that, and we do look at that.
And if it's the homeowner that's applying for the permit, how do you know that they're going to respect the variance between the two owners?
Repeat that one more time.
I said if it's the homeowner that's building the fence, how do you know that they're going to respect the variance between the two properties?
They would look at, that would be their responsibility.
Okay, okay.
You know, and ultimately, a homeowner comes in, we look at their property where they plan to install the fence. We're not going to allow a fence to be installed on someone else's property. So long as it's, you know, reasonable and it appears to comply with all of the terms of the code, then it would be administratively approved without sort of supplemental information.
Yeah, typically there's a 5-foot variance between the property lines.
Yeah, this is Scott. So in the planning commission meeting, it was discussed that would it be mandatory to have a 2-foot setback from the property line when installing the fence? And I believe the planning commission decided that that would be recommended but not required. Certainly, if the city council feels differently, we can make that change to the ordinance.
And typically, those setback recommendations are recommendations and are generally not requirements. Now, some cities do have them, but the ones that I've been associated with, most of them are recommendations, and they're required that mostly so you can maintain the fence from your own property.
So this is Jenny. My parents have dealt with this with a neighbor actually down the road, and they would have to take them to civil court. The fence was built over the property line. I know some of the property plugs were dug out overnight and some things like that, and sheriffs were involved and all that. So I know that, again, it becomes a civil issue. Personally, in seeing all of that, I would recommend setback requirements just because I think it provides a safety mechanism. But that's just only in seeing a personal situation relating to this. But again, having it as a recommendation and not requirement is perfectly fine as well.
Can I ask you a question, Jenny? You mean that the pin markers were pulled out?
Yeah, and the sheriff was called over it and became a far greater issue than originally planned. But yes, it was built, they ran a string from front to back, and with some grading and some different things, they ran it around a tree and ran it on my parents' side instead of in. And so the fence actually goes like this. And so it became very complicated, but it was built while they were gone. And so for what that is, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what this can look like. And so now you have neighbors that just don't speak. So again, that's only in seeing how bad it can get, but that's just my personal recommendation.
So you do have a provision in here, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that allows the fence to be placed along a property line, provided no physical damage of any kind results to the abutting property and the abutting property owner provides written consent. So perhaps the solution here is that it's either a 2-foot setback if that's the desire of the city council, or they receive adjoining property owner consent so that everyone's on the same page. And if there is a discrepancy, then a survey could be completed.
Ms. Jenny, would that written consent be a form provided by the city, or would they have to handwrite some kind of letter or something to that effect? That was one of my questions.
We don't have a form. We could develop a form for them to sign, though.
This is Karen. I would recommend the setback, and I would double check to make sure if it's 2 feet or 5 feet to make sure that, you know, it's legally in line with what it's supposed to be.
And to the issue that Jenny mentioned on the alteration of pin locations, that's not as uncommon as you might think.
Well, you know, when you have a 2-foot setback, I'm just thinking you can't take a lawnmower.
And then you come up with the issue that the property owner, the adjoining property owner is not going to allow access for you to cross his property to maintain that strip. We've seen that happen before too. So that's one of the issues there. But it does allow you then to actually maintain the fence as far as be painting or any repairs and still be on your own property and not have to get permission from the adjoining property.
I think the other thing that comes into play there for some people is weed control, especially with horse owners. If one property has horolithum on it, they can go and keep it cut back 2 feet from the fence line so their horses can't get at it, which would kill a horse. That's, I think, another reason for that 2-foot setback.
So this is Jenny, would it then be, so if we did not do a setback, but we required the neighbors to sign off on a fence to ensure that there was some pre-planning and ensuring that that would be something that we could.
So having more fun than us. Yeah.
So again, I think as long as there's some provision in place, I think that would be something I would like to see, just in knowing how that might go between neighbors.
Well, we got big lots here, so I don't know what 2 or 5 feet's going to make a difference. I mean,
I mean, you spin it this way too, though. You give 2 feet on one side, now that other owner thinks that's their property because they're mowing up to the fence, and there's another disagreement, you know?
Yeah, it's no guarantee it's going to solve all the problems.
No.
It does solve some, but it opens some other questions up.
So now the argument is who's going to maintain that 2 feet?
Right.
Yeah,
I'm good either way on it.
I am too. And if you want to make a motion, either way.
I mean, so I have one other question before I make, again, I think I'd be fine with just a written consent between neighbors if they don't want to have that setback there. But one other question on this, I did miss one of the planning commission meetings regarding the fence ordinance, and may have missed when they talked about potential minimum clearance of 4 inches above grade to allow for surface water passage. That's saying that the fence has to be 4 inches above ground, correct?
Correct.
Is that standard?
It's not standard. You can set it up for anything you want to. 4 inches assures that even though that's above grade, that's top of ground, not top of grass. If you've got grass growing there, it's easier to trim, maintain, and it allows surface drainage to be unimpeded, especially if water's flowing to the other property. You can set it for any standard you want to. 4 inches is probably one that ensures you don't have any issues. 2 or 3 inches could be acceptable also.
I just think 4 inch, I mean, I've seen fences that do have a bit of that gap between. And
The thing about 4 inches, though, if you have little small animals in your yard, like a small dog,
Through,
crawling,
right.
that's really easy.
So in my personal recommendation would be 2 inches, because Columbus is generally sand and we don't have a ton for flooding issues. Again, we have a lot of water here, but I think if we could maybe recommend changing that to 2 inches. I don't know how comfortable everybody else is with that, but that way it allows for small animals not to escape. And then my other question, I apologize, is under Section D, relating to mason and stone walls only being a maximum of 4 feet high instead of 6 like any other material would be. Do you know why that was changed as well?
I'm not sure, other than the fact that it may block some views, especially if you're around lakefront property. Sometimes that becomes an issue where you build a solid, even if it's a solid fence. We've had neighbors complain, well, it's disturbing the view shed. So other than that, I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning was behind that.
Oftentimes, a retaining wall made of stone or masonry in excess of 4 feet will require a building permit. And so there'd be additional grounding and sort of a more substantial review that we would want to be able to undertake.
Thank you.
I think also it might be a sight line. If I'm not mistaken, there was sight line, particularly if you're sight line to the road, trying to pull out of your driveway, or a neighbor trying to pull out from their driveway.
Perfect, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, because sometimes having the variations make it a bit more complicated for people to understand. And then you all of a sudden have somebody building and they saw 6 feet. I just wanted to, not to try to simplify it as much as we can, but sometimes that does help as people try to build things. So yes, I'm comfortable making a motion if you all want. This is Jenny. I move that the City Council approve the amendments to Ordinance 25-04 with the changes as noted, that the fence shall not restrict drainage, but the maximum clearance be 2 inches above grade, as well as notwithstanding any other provisions as noted in red to the contrary, a property survey is not required for the zoning permit application, but the zoning administrator may require it when the property line is not clearly defined. And recommend that the city, as recommended by the Planning Commission at their December 3rd, 2025 meeting.
Can I clarify, is that minimum clearance for the bottom or maximum clearance? Maximum? Maximum,
Minimum clearance of 2 inches.
minimum clearance, 2 inches,
They
yeah.
have to at least have 2 inches.
Are we going to add the setback or no?
Oh, this is Jenny, with a change to ensure that neighbors have a written consent, or that the property owner has written consent from adjoining neighbors as well. I apologize for making this complicated.
Would you like this just to be tabled and this presented to you in that form at the next meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can,
I think that would be better.
To
Then we
update
can-
everything
yeah,
as
then we can see
according- okay.
that everything's been presented as you propose.
Anybody have any changes or things that you don't agree with what I said? I just want to make sure that, is there anything else we need to talk about with it? No, okay.
And Megan, is there any way that you can check on that setback if between the properties? Is it 2 feet, 5 feet? Can you check on that for us?
Absolutely, happy to do so.
okay, so we're going to table item number 4, excuse me, and we're going to go to item number 5, Lake Drive and Kettle River Roundabout Detour Plan.
You need a motion to table that?
Yeah.
yeah.
We need a motion.
This is Rob, a motion to table this discussion until the next meeting.
It's Jenny, a second.
It's item number 4. Any discussion? Hearing none. Jenny, you want to start off?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Karen and I?
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Now we'll go on to item number 5.
The Anoka County Highway Department is finalizing the planning and preparation for the Lake Drive Kettle River Boulevard Roundabout project. Representatives from the County Highway Department have presented multiple updates on the project, as well as the proposed detour routes for the construction phases of the work. One of the proposed detour routes includes Camp 3 Road between Lake Drive and Potomac Street. For use of this section as a part of the detour route, the Highway Department is proposing a $50,000 contribution to the city towards the cost of rehabilitation of this section of Camp 3 Road. This street is already scheduled for improvements in the city 2026-2027 road plan, and these additional funds would offset a portion of the city cost for that project. The Highway Department has indicated they are willing to prohibit truck travel over the Camp 3 segment of the detour and implement a traffic control plan that will be mutually acceptable for both parties. The Highway Department anticipates that the use of the Camp 3 detour will save approximately a month of construction time. The normal procedure for county highway projects is the use of county roads for the entirety of the detour route. However, in the case of this project, incorporating the Camp 3 road segment in the detour plan will reduce the distance to the I-35 129 exit by 5.6 miles. The Camp 3 segment will be used regardless of the detour route selected, as the majority of traffic is local, and this shortcut is well known by those who travel these roads. City Council is requested to endorse the use of the Camp 3 Road detour for the Lake Drive Kettle River Boulevard Roundabout project in exchange for the $50,000 appropriation for the rehabilitation of the Camp 3 Road.
This is, we had a discussion on this. We kind of came to a consensus, if I'm right. Any other discussion? I'll read the motion then. I, Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve the use of Camp 3 Road Detour Plan for the Lake Drive Kettle River Boulevard Roundabout Project as recommended by the Anoka County Highway Department, including a mutual agreeable traffic control plan and a $50,000 appropriations to the city of Columbus for the rehabilitation of Camp 3 Road.
Scott, I'll second.
We've got a motion. It's been seconded. Any other discussions?
Yeah, this is Rob. Do we have to have anything in there about truck traffic?
That'll be part of that traffic control plan,
Okay.
and they've agreed to restrict traffic control or truck traffic on that section of Camp 3.
Great.
So major truck traffic will have to go north to Broadway and around.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was covered.
Any other comments? With that, it was seconded by Scott, right? Yeah, okay, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye?
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Item number 6 passes unanimously. We'll go on to item number 7, Minnesota Technology Corridor Cooperative Agreement.
How about number 6, Mr. Mayor?
Huh?
You want to do number 6?
Oh, the nuisance, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. Item number 6 is nuisance abatement, 1632 Cornell Street.
That's okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On October 28th, 2025, the city received a complaint regarding an accumulation of trash on the property at 16235 Cornell Street Northeast. The city's code compliance official responded to the complaint and confirmed the existence of the violation and took photographs, which you all have seen. Returning later in the day with an Anoka County deputy, our code compliance officer made contact with Stephanie Kirkpatrick at the residence. The violations were explained to Ms. Kirkpatrick and that she was being given 1 week to correct the violations. Ms. Kirkpatrick acknowledged the accumulation and said that she and her son were working on picking it up and she would do her best. She also stated that during the conversation that she is estranged from her husband, Kevin Kirkpatrick, who is the owner of the property. On November 4th, 2025, code compliance officer returned to 16235 Cornell Street to determine if there any corrections had been made, to which he documented that they had not been. A follow-up letter citing violations of city code was drafted and emailed to Ms. Kirkpatrick, mailed first class and certified to Ms. Kirkpatrick at that address. On November 12th, 2025, code compliance officer presented the information to city council requesting direction. City council directed staff to proceed with enforcement actions consistent with city code and to report back at a subsequent meeting. This is your subsequent meeting. Code compliance forwarded facts of the case to the city attorney for interpretation of the city code to determine if these circumstances meet an emergency exception for abatement as defined by city code. It was the opinion that this does not meet the requirements of an emergency and the city should follow its abatement procedure, which includes a public hearing. While waiting for an answer from the city attorney, I researched Anoka County tax records for the address on Cornell Street and discovered that Kevin Kirkpatrick of P.O. Box 4, Wyoming, is the recorded sole owner. Kevin Kirkpatrick purchased the property on June 29th of 2017. I also discovered Stephanie Kirkpatrick was granted power of attorney for Kevin on June 9th of 2017. State marriage records confirm that Kevin and Stephanie Kirkpatrick were married on April 11th of 2018. On June 30th, 2023, there was a home loan modification on the property in which Stephanie Kirkpatrick is the authorized signatory with power of attorney designated over Kevin Kirkpatrick. There's also an open dissolution of marriage case filed on April 16th, 2025, pending between Kevin and Stephanie Kirkpatrick. Section 5100 of the Columbus City Code defines a public nuisance as a thing or act or use of property which A, maintains, causes, or permits a condition which unreasonably annoys, injures, endangers the health, safety, comfort, or repose of any considerable number of members of the public, or offends public decency, or interferes with the use of, obstruct, or tend to obstruct or render dangerous for passage, public waterway, park, square, alley, street, or roadway. D, depreciates the value of the property of the inhabitants of the city of Columbus or considered number thereof, or in any way render inhabitants of the city of Columbus or considerable number of them insecure of life or in use of their property. Section F, does any other act or omission declared by law or this ordinance to be a public nuisance. We move on to section 5-300, public nuisances affecting health and safety and comfort. I have pulled out of the ordinance the items that I believe meet the definition. The following are declared to be public nuisances affecting health, safety, comfort, or repose. The exposed accumulation of decaying or unwholesome food or vegetable matter, accumulations of refuse or other debris, an accumulation of tin cans, bottles, trash, or debris of any nature or description, and all other acts, omissions of acts, occupants, occupations, or uses of property in which are deemed by the city council to be a menace to the health of the inhabitants of the city or considerable number thereof. Section 16C 102, the application, this chapter shall apply to the abatement of any of the following, which is A, nuisances affecting public health, peace and safety, comfort, repose, or general welfare as defined in the previous sections that I described to you. Section 5-602, the abatement of nuisances by city council. So in addition to other lawful remedies, the city council may order that a nuisance be abated. All nuisance abatements shall be conducted in accordance with Chapter 16C of the City Code. Chapter 16C 203, the abatement order. Upon receipt of a report from a city official that the property owner has not complied with an order to perform corrective work, the city council may, after notice of the property owner and the opportunity to be heard, determine that the condition identified in the notice of the violation is a nuisance. The city council shall conduct a public hearing to receive all evidence from city officials and or the property owner in its decision to issue an abatement order. It goes on to describe what is required in the notice. I won't bore you with those details, but on November 18th, 2025, code compliance official contacted the postmaster at the Wyoming Post Office with the completion of proper paperwork to see that Kevin Kirkpatrick does receive mail at Post Office Box 4 of Wyoming. Code compliance officer drafted a public hearing notice in accordance with section 16C 203 of the city code. The public hearing notice was attempted to be delivered by hand on November 18th at the address. However, after no answer, it was hand posted on the front door. Additionally, a certified letter containing the notice was sent to Kirkpatrick at the post office box in Wyoming. However, it was returned unclaimed from the Postal Service. Due to the ownership circumstances, the notice was published in the city's official newspaper on November 27th. Staff recommends that City Council hold a public hearing and at its conclusion, declare the violations cited in accordance with Section 5 a public nuisance, order the city perform corrective work, exterior trash removal, and charge the cost, therefore, against the owner of the real property of 1623 Cornell Street. Included in this recommendation is that the city should attempt to solicit bids from 3 qualified contractors or individuals to complete said corrected work. And in addition, since the circumstances does not constitute an emergency exception, and the case is a code or ordinance violation on private property, an abatement would require government entry onto private property to carry out the law. City Council should direct the city attorney to obtain an administrative search warrant for 16235 Cornell Street Northeast to allow the city to lawfully gain access to the property to complete the corrective work previously identified. I can give you a little update. Last Thursday, code compliance officer went by the property again. None of the corrections have happened, and the notice was removed off the door, and there were tracks to and from the front door as well as tracks in the driveway. So our notice was removed off of the door, on top of the other 3 attempts for notification for tonight's hearing that we attempted.
This is Karen, just a question. Once that is like served to them and once we start the process and if we clean up the area or whatever, I'm guessing we would charge that person on their taxes, is that correct?
So our code requires that we immediately create a bill for the service. We send it to them in the mail. Once there's non-payment of service, we then assess that to property taxes on an annual basis.
Okay,
With the rest of our annual assessments.
okay, thank you.
Here.
Sure takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I got a question in regards, I'm looking at these pictures. I mean, there's a trailer that it looks like there's trash heaped in. How do we go about that since that's personal property? And
Yeah, the recommendation would be that the contractor remove the trash out of the trailer and we leave the trailer as long as it's legally parked on the property, so we don't have to worry about the retention of anybody's personal property that's not trash related. That we can dispose
this is
of.
the extent of the trash though, is the pile in the top and
No,
what's in the trash? Is there more to it?
There is more in the backyard.
Sure.
There's a carport, there's some under the carport.
Okay.
An aerial of the property in GIS, you can see there's multiple piles in the rear yard along the back of the house.
Oh, geez.
That we didn't take pictures of when we were on site that day, making contact with the owner.
Cool, I just wanted to make sure it was more than just these
Yeah, there's more there.
I believe our original motion did include the backyard that Sean
Yeah.
applied to.
Okay, I'm good.
Jenny, thank you for your work on this. I think it's been pretty ongoing, so and make sure to thank Sean also.
Will do.
It's kind of amazing that that place could last that long and nobody said anything, because I remember going by it a week before it was even complained about, and you could see where the dogs or some critter been pulling the garbage out of that trailer, and it was all over.
Jeez.
But anything, you sure got to go through a lot of work to clean up some garbage.
So knowing that the occupants or someone has had the notice, we have posted notice. We need to hold a public hearing to give them an opportunity to speak about their property. Although it doesn't look like there's anybody here, we still need to go through those formal motions. And then after the close of the public hearing, make the declaration and then the motion to clean it up.
Okay. We're going to open up a public hearing at this time, and if there's anybody that wants to make a comment to the council, please step forward. If there's nobody in the audience, as we can see, we'll ask anybody online who would like to come forward and make a comment about this issue at hand. Hearing nothing, then we'll close the public hearing, and we'll go on to the motion.
This is Karen, I'll make the motion. I, Karen Fleming, move to approve the declaration of the violation cited in accordance with the City Code Section 5 of a public nuisance order, the city to perform the corrective work related to the violations, charging the cost thereof against the owner of the real property at 16235 Cornell Street Northeast, along with the necessary steps required for this action.
Scott, I'll second.
We got a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded. Any other comments or statements?
One
I
question.
have one comment. If these are the only two pictures we have, I would suggest that we get all the pictures that we have before we start.
As soon as we have that administrative search warrant and we have the right to be on the
All
property,
right.
we'll take all the documents.
Great.
We'll likely video it with a deputy when we're there doing the removal.
Great.
Yep.
And this is Jenny, one question, confirming the necessary steps, we don't actually need to note administrative search warrant, that is what is meant by that, correct? Just, okay, confirming that, thank you.
So since we're all asking questions, how do they plan to do this in the winter here with 10 inches of snow all over everything? Are we going to wait till spring?
So I've asked our code compliance officer to make contact with 3 contractors right now to see if they can get in there with a skid steer and a trailer and just start scooping. That's probably our best option at this point before it's totally frozen to the ground.
We do have it on satellite, though, all this garbage?
We can see it, yeah, on the aerials.
I know in the backyard you could see the bags out there, but now they're probably covered up with snow. Well, looks good. We got any other comments?
I just have one more question. With the 3 bids that we're requiring, does the council need to approve the bids before they can start, or?
As long as it's under $5,000 threshold, Jack, I believe we can.
Yeah, $5,000, and actually you don't have to advertise for bids unless it's over $175. So we can get 3 quotes, and then we can award it to the lowest bidder, or if there's any question about the quality of the contractors, we can bring it to city council for a recommendation. If it's not the lowest bid, to award it to the next highest bidder.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Jenny?
Jenny, aye?
Scott, aye.
Karen, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. The motion passes. Now we'll go on to item number 7, Minnesota Technology Corridor Cooperative Agreement.
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor. At the December 2nd, 2025 council workshop, Greg Gillis, the Anoka County Economic Development Director, presented an update and a proposed cooperative agreement regarding the Minnesota Technology Corridor project. This presentation was provided to reintroduce the overall project concept and provide council an opportunity to ask questions. The next steps for the Minnesota Technology Corridor project jurisdiction partners are to enter into a cooperative agreement. This would include forming a committee tasked with the creation of a scope of services for a third-party corridor study, prepare and submit a request for proposals for the evaluation responses, develop funding formula recommendations, and select a firm to conduct the study. Entering into this initial proposed agreement does not have a financial obligation to the city and would involve Columbus staff presence in future discussions and participate in any future funding formula recommendations. Staff recommends City Council consider entering into the proposed cooperative agreement that was attached in your packet.
So as you stated, Aaron, that we discussed this at a workshop meeting, and I think we came to a consensus. Am I correct, everybody?
Yep.
Is there any other discussion we want to make on it?
Well, you want me to make the motion, Mayor? I, Rob Bush, move to approve that the city of Columbus becomes a signatory on the Minnesota Technical Corridor Cooperative Agreement as exhibited in Attachment 1 of Agenda Item C7, December 10th, 2025, Columbus City Council Agenda.
Is Jenny, I second.
We got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Is there any other discussion? I see Greg's online there. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote, but we're going to go the other way this time. Rob?
Rob, aye.
Aaron, aye.
Scott, aye.
Jenny, I.
Ron, aye. The motion passes unanimously.
What I get for trying to expand your vocabulary.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good night.
Okay.
We'll go on to item number 8, IT Management Services Contract Update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the November 24th City Council meeting, the recommendation of city staff and council approved the award of the IT services contract with Metro Sales Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $45,408.48. On December 3rd, 2025, city staff met with Metro Sales Incorporated representatives and have executed an initial service agreement to get the process of onboarding started. During the onboarding process, Metro Sales Incorporated technicians will be on site to evaluate hardware and software, give a technical evaluation, and aid us in reducing their number of endpoints. Once onboarding is complete, a secondary contract will be presented that is representative of the new cost associated with the actual use of the city. This onboarding process could take 14 to 30 days to complete, and Metro Sales Incorporated is aware the city is desiring a January 1st, 2026 go-live date. This is only informational for you, and no action is needed at this time. Staff are diligently working to get this thing moving.
Thank you very much, Aaron. We'll go on to item number D, Consultants, Liaisons, and Staff Reports. City Engineer, Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Brian Bachmeyer, Consulting City Engineer. In August of this year, we were authorized to prepare an application for the Minnesota Local Road Improvement Program grant program. We've been working since that time, gathering the letters of support and the resolutions and filling out the application information that we've reviewed with the city administrator. We're now in a position to submit the application. The deadline for the application is this Friday, December 12th. And so we're prepared to submit the application tomorrow and get all that information. So we're looking for a motion to approve the submission of the grant application. We should hear if the grant application is successful by March or April of next year. And it's our hope that we'll be able to get the grant agreement in place and proceed with construction in 2026. With that, I'd stand for any questions.
Yeah, this is Scott. Just out of curiosity, did we get a letter from Lionel Lakes, a letter of support?
We did.
Awesome.
So everybody knows we're talking about Hornsby? All right. I, Ron Hanegraaff, move to approve the submission of the Local Road Improvement Program grant application to the Minnesota Department of Transportation for Hornsby Street Improvement Project.
This is Karen, I'll second it.
We got a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? Comments? Hearing none. We'll go with Jenny.
Jenny, I.
Scott, aye.
Aaron, aye.
Rob, aye.
And Ron, aye. Motion passes unanimously. And now we go to our city attorney report.
Yes, so I have a limited substantive report tonight, something that's more sort of fun for the community, which is the League of Minnesota Cities is hosting a writing competitions for 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, asking them to answer this question. Cities provide a variety of services and programs that make our lives better, including parks and rec, sewer, water, libraries, police, fire, and more. If you were mayor for a day, what would you do to make one of the services your city provides better? So it's 150 words they're looking for, between 150 words and 300 words. And it's due this week, but they're giving away $100 gift cards. So if those kids out there in Columbus are watching, they should file their, what would they do if they were mayor for a day with the League of Minnesota Cities? And it's available on their website.
Something for Neil Fox?
Yeah, when's it due?
Friday.
I don't think I can get it written that quick. Expect a 4th grader to write that quick?
Yeah, absolutely. They can churn out 150 words, no problem. But with that in mind, that's the only update I have. Certainly happy to answer any questions about paid family leave, cannabis. Those are sort of the issues that are coming up in 2026, and any other questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. How do they, if I have, somebody know Mr. Fox? I know him.
I do.
Yeah.
A little late to stop and talk to him, but
They do something similar if they could rule the school for the day. I think that's in 4th or 5th grade. But my daughter's a 5th grader. I'm going to let her know. If she can spread the word.
There you go.
that's through the League of Cities.
League of
Yeah,
Minnesota Cities.
how do they submit it? Is it on the league?
It's on the league website. It's on their front page. Super easy to copy and paste right into their form.
Oh, cool.
Our granddaughter.
4th, 5th, and
third
6th.
graders.
Yep.
Just off.
Sorry, we're out.
Well, thank you, Megan. We'll go on to the mayor and city council's report. Jenny, you have anything?
Does Jenny no report?
Scott?
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Karen?
No report.
Me as well, no report, Mayor.
Well, I got a little report here. Tuesday morning, me and Jack went to the Forest Lake Chamber of Commerce. They had a community leadership event there, and with all the mayors that surround us, Forest Lake and Wyoming. And I just want to say that it was hosted by one of our businesses, which was Olson's Excavating and Sewer Service. And it's nice that the Forest Lake Chamber of Commerce in Columbus is sponsoring it, but it's great. Anyway, they honored Janet Hagelin, and Tessa Lanasa, the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, made a pretty good presentation honoring Janet for all of her work that she's done, because prior to Janet coming here, we had no contact with the Chamber of Commerce, and she kind of brought around that route now, so we're kind of in with them now. So that was kind of nice to see. Other than that, I have nothing else. We'll go to EDA report. We don't have nothing on that yet. Tomorrow we are interviewing somebody for that, correct, Aaron?
Yes.
Personnel committee report now. This one, Jack, they are interviewed two people?
That's correct. We had 4 applicants selected. We had scheduled interviews for all of them today. We only interviewed 2. 2 of them called and backed out of their interview because they'd accepted other positions. So we did interview 2. They were both seemed to be qualified for the positions. We'll have some follow-up, and we'll make a recommendation to City Council at the December 22nd meeting for approval of a hire for that position.
Okay. Item number 7, the Parks Board report. We never really had a meeting in the Parks Board. We have one coming up, Jack?
We have the next Parks Board meeting is in January.
Okay, January. Public Works report. Jim isn't here tonight?
Jim isn't here, but I'll follow up a little bit on Brian's report on the grant application. The grant application due to Forest Lakes bidding the project, getting some good solid numbers. our estimates for the project cost are down from what they would be. So there will be some expense by the city, regardless of which funding source we use. For those things that aren't an approved part of the construction projects, basically the lighting would be a city cost on this. But I think the overall cost of the project would be, the construction costs are going to be approximately $560,000 with a lighting cost of about $100,000. That would be a city share of the project, which we would finance that from either some of our HRA revenues, or if we had to, we would do some of our additional road funding in the Public Works program.
Are they talking about putting lights all the way down
Yes.
It
at
would
1,200 feet?
all the way down to 1,200 feet, and then it would be lit up on the Forest Lake side all the way back up to 11th Avenue.
Oh, that's going to be amazing. I know what's going, if you see JW around, tell them the light's out there, that first one,
Okay.
street light, or whatever it was the other day in the morning. We'll go city administrators report, item number 9.
I have nothing else to report.
Can we skip planning commission?
We did. You want to do number 6?
Oh, God, I'm really skipping tonight, ain't I? Planning commission report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just 2 quick items. Obviously, they had the public hearing and voted to forward the fencing ordinance that we discussed earlier today at the last planning commission. Second piece that came up was a variance on a division of a property. They were taking a property, dividing it into 2 lots, a 8.67 acre lot and a 5 acre lot. There were some questions over a current septic system and needing a variance on the width of the lot, the 5 acre lot that they'll be selling. And I believe they voted to bring that to public hearing at their next meeting. So once that's done, it'll come before us.
Actually, they held the public hearing, but there's a carryover to the next meeting, and then they'll make a decision on what their recommendations.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, Jack. I appreciate that. And lastly, there was a brief discussion on frequency of planning commission meetings. So, pretty short meeting.
I went to that meeting just to add something to it. We are going to interview somebody tomorrow for the planning commission. Aaron and Ellie and I'll be in that interview. And also, we talked about this before, Jack, about this delaying the 2-week deal on the planning commission. Did we come to an agreement on that, or is it a decision the planning commission?
We discussed bringing it and proposing it to bring it back to the attention of the planning commission to get their recommendation on it. And with that, then we'll decide which direction we need to move with altering that policy.
Just for clarification, instead of waiting the 2 weeks to bring the people back in, we could do it that one night instead of.
The current policy is once it goes to the planning commission, they hold the public hearing. They do not make a recommendation on that. They allow another 2 weeks for additional questions to come in. So they have to go back to the planning commission again. There are some of these projects, though, that are pretty well slam dunks that do not need that. We're looking at amending that policy to minimize the appearance of people that have to come back to these hearings, commission meetings for project approval when that requirement's not necessary.
So this is Rob, in the event of say like a big apartment project or a big commercial space, is that going to be just we're going to eliminate the 2 weeks on that as well?
That would be it. The planning commission would make that determination. And even if it's not, if it comes to council, you don't have to approve it, then you can allow other discussions.
Sure.
You can table it. So there's still opportunity at the city council level to get that additional time for additional questions.
Okay, thank you.
A question, didn't we already discuss and have a council vote on this year previously, or?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. I thought it had come up previously.
I think we discussed it.
Just discussed it?
I think it was
Okay.
at one of
Joint
our
meeting?
joint
Okay.
workshop meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jack, on that one. Anything else under that? We'll go to item E, announcements and reminders. The Planning Commission meeting, December 17th, 2025 at 6 p.m. EDA work and regular meeting, December 18th at 2025 at 5:30 PM. City council meeting is on Monday this year, December 22nd at 2025 at 6 PM. And the city hall will be closed December 24th and 25th of 2025. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn, or do you have any questions?
Ms. Jenny, I make a motion to adjourn.
Rob, second.
We have a motion out there. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? Questions? Hearing none. We'll take a vote. Kenny?
Jenny, aye.
Scott, aye.
Aaron, I.
Rob, aye.
Before I say aye, pass it unanimous. The reason I do this is because when I was on the board all the time, Jesse, Mayor Preiner, would always start with me. And I always thought, why don't we start on the other side? So I'm going to switch it up. So anyway, I agree. Adjourn the meeting. Meeting's adjourned at 7:25.